For the next part and the last thing for my white tornado, I want to back to the bottom area. In fact, I want to use my old particle simulation. So go to time shift. That's how it looks on the first frame. But what I want to change here, I want to add the time blend. And with the time blend, I will reduce the speed, go to by speed, like 5 times smaller, so it's 0.2, and I will scale velocities. So basically what I did, if you get back to this one frame, enable velocities, that's what we had, and that's what we have after the time blend. So the first thing, the particles will move 5 times slower. Velocity they had will be also 5 times smaller. We rescale them. And then it means that we're gonna have a different simulation. It looks similar to that what we had in the first time, but it's definitely will be different. I even leave my bottom seam as it was, because by default I have a shape, the nice shape, a disturbance, and I'm gonna leave this disturbance because I really want to have, I really want to break this smoke, because I don't want to have a very, very flat and very blurry surfaces, or very blurry shapes. So we're gonna leave disturbance like here, and I guess leave disturbance 0.25 like here. So even with the same dope setup, I will have a different simulation. So I just want to rename, and or I'm gonna use the same name but a different file location, and you will see that it has pretty different result. And we were done with simulation, and you can see, if you remember what we had in our first tornado, it's similar like we had earlier, but let's say if we go to frame 50, now we can see that the smoke it's not rising up very fast. Let me just copy this file cache, and so I changed my old name, and that's how looks our bottom tornado last time. You can see a part of the smoke is rising up pretty quickly, and the reason because we have the particle movement 5 times faster and a bigger velocity. Now we have less velocities, and we have a nice twist around the ground, and this is exactly what I want. So let me just put the camera about, and it's looking good. But from my camera to this ground tornado, I don't know how to call this, it's looking a little bit weird because it's very small. So I can use the same transform and set it to proper position, so scale 6, and I guess I need to set my level 1 here and select the bottom. So I want to visualize both of them. Come on. And now let's rotate it. Maybe set to top view. Go to top view, just make sure my bottom is directly under the tornado. So all what you need is just make it bigger. Now look at cam. It's looking pretty good. Let's turn off the first level. Maybe I will push it a little bit to the left. So because it's just tiny bit here. Yeah, I want to make it in the center. And another thing I want to do, I want to add the grid. And grid should be bigger. So let's go here and make it like 100 by 100. That's going to be my ground. I can add this to the render elements. So just be the made object, because I will put my bottom tornado a little bit under the ground. And the reason for that, I don't want to have this contact area. So I want to move it a little bit above the ground. So it's transform, maybe like -3. Yeah, something like that. All right. But now when I want to make a play blast, let's see. I want to see, does the rotation match the rotation of the main vortex should match with rotation of this ground vortex, because it's very important to do this correctly. Well, the ground vortex can be a little bit faster, but not too much. If they will be a different with a different speed, I will render out them separately, definitely separately, because I can on Nuke make some color correction or some adjustment for the bottom vortex. It will be a little slow process because we're gonna cache a lot of data, and we need to read many megabytes, or let's say gigabytes of files. So it's gonna take some time. All right, so I make a pause, and even with those few frames, I can see that it's much quicker than my main vortex. So what I want to do, I want to go to the bottom, tornado, and I guess I should use the time blend to slow down my bottom vortex. It's difficult to visualize and to record the screen, so let's take some time for updating. All right, now let's go and add a time shift or time blend, or I guess I will add time shift too, because I want to have more or less good vortex in the beginning. So with the time blend, I go and set by speed as I did earlier, and type 0.5. So 2 times smaller speed, 2 times lower, I think it's a better word. 2 times lower. And yeah, the time blend is always time consuming node. So we need to wait a little bit. Let's press escape maybe. You see it works with readback. And let's change from transform only to advected. So it's going to use velocity, as we did again. And I guess I will add the time shift for a few frames, maybe like 1 second. So go to time shift and set +25, something like this. And now let's render this thing out. So now it's transformation. It's looking good. Okay. Okay, now let's go to material. So I already have material from my last render, from my render the bottom vortex. So go to out and tornado bottom objects, level 1 bottom, correct, but for the level 1 I want to add a ground plane to set 2 for made objects. Now let's go and make a test render. So let's change, let's make a frame 50, should be fine. I don't know what it's doing now. Okay, sometime with my recording program and Houdini, they begin to fight for the resources of a PC. Come on, select it. Okay, so now let's see what settings do we have here, and let's actually enable the preview. And Houdini sent me an error. So I restart this project and I use the default, that's not default, I use the pyro shader from the last bottom vortex, and I think it can be fine. I can't see the matching by the color, but anyway, because of the separate render, I guess I can correct my smoke color or the dust color in Nuke, so it should be fine. If I look on my alpha channel, that's fine. I don't want to have a lot of dust on the front, because it's had to be like a dust from the ground, from the road, and it should be very transparent. So I don't want to have a very high dense areas. These areas will cover the bottom area of my first vortex, because I don't want to see like a collision between my vortex and the ground. So this bottom vortex will create a nice, will make a nice job for this. So it will hide those bottom intersection. Okay, yeah, it's looking pretty nice. It's a little bit noisy here, so we can add more samples. 4x4 is a minimum. And go to out. Okay, tornado white, tornado bottom white. To avoid rewriting the same sequence, because I use the mantra $S. Oh, okay, so I stop it. I write a note and now it's begin to recalculate. I know they should make some, if I just rename the node, I don't want to again re-render this image, because the name of the node doesn't have any influence on it. Anyway, I will render out this with camera 2, which is more important. I need to set my camera 2 here and here. Accept, so last check, L1, L2. Basically I can add the ground here as a force mate, but again, my tornado bottom will cover that area, so I don't need to cut my first vortex with geometry. Okay, 3x3 here, let's make it 4x4, and from 25 to 100. Cool. Now let's render this out and we will find out how it's look on a post with compositing stage.